Okay folks, today we're talking about moving into a new space, or apparently the Hirschberger definition of that, buying furniture. Yes, this is the first one specifically made for this channel. I'm moving all my blogs to this channel, so bear with me. I don't want to throw too many of them at there all at once. But today we're talking about Trisha Hirschberger's situation. She's moving into a new home and does not have enough furniture to fill that home. And apparently this really bothers Miss Hirschberger, so Mrs. Hirschberger. So we're going to discuss that. Now I'm going to say the simplest, most basic, and easiest solution is Costco.com. And I'll tell you why, because you don't need to be a member to shop there. They only sell good furniture and they have an excellent return policy. So, yeah, that's your number one. If you absolutely have to outfit things, that's what you do. Now, I'm going to have to explain my perspective on this. You see, my family is trashy. It's one of the reasons I've had so much trouble in life. When stuff broke down, my old man would fix it with shoe goo. And let me tell you something about shoe goo. Shoe goo is basically a form of rubber cement that is purchased by people who can't afford to buy proper shoes. Because if you're buying the shoe goo, you're buying something that you really should just put that money into a new pair of shoes. And if you're fixing an old shoe yourself, it's because you don't have the money. I mean, this guy had I think it was $50,000 a year job before he retired, maybe 65, something like that. Bought shoe goo. Don't buy cheap crap for your home. It's not worth it. Let me explain. My chairs in my kitchen. I used to have these old vinyl chairs. I think they were 70s era, which meant they were as old as I was, and they began falling apart. The casters began breaking, I believe, when I was 11. So the casters are breaking, the backs are falling off of them. You can't really get them fixed. And what my old man did was he went and he bought folding chairs. Okay. So now, of course, we look like white trash because we've got folding chairs in our kitchen as our permanent chairs. So I'm embarrassed to have anybody over. And then what, of course, happens? Folding chairs are not designed for constant use. They are designed for temporary. They're the extra chair you keep, so wear and tear really affects those. So, of course, the garters on the bottom of the feet fell off, and now they cut into the floor. So your floor is getting all hacked up because you bought cheap chairs. Never buy cheap things for your home. It's never going to be worth it. Even if you have kids, like if you get, cheap stuff that falls apart, your kids are really just going to wreck it. Any of that furniture that you put together yourself, that's for people that don't have kids and don't have pets. That's what that's for. So, yeah. Don't buy cheap stuff for your home. Now, if I were talking to a new homeowner, and this new homeowner were asking me questions, I mean, look, I actually did this for my cousin, and it was several years ago, maybe a decade ago at this point. He was moving into a new house, and it was me, his brother, my brother, and one of his friends. We're all having a barbecue at his house with just the five of us. And he looks at me and he says, well, what do you think about my water main? I go, what do you mean about the water main? He goes, well, the water main is galvanized. My brother says I should just leave it. I want to put in a lawn. And I said, yeah, you got a galvanized water main. You need to take that thing out right now. Because the galvanized water main is crap. It's eventually going to break. It's going to chew up all of your appliances. Because what happens with galvanized piping is that rust rust comes off the piping and it screws everything up. So we literally sat there. I had not planned to do that, but I chewed up my hands badly. But we sat there digging his water main for like 12 hours to fix his house. So it's one of those things, when you talk about moving into a house, it's like there's a number of questions. First off, water main. What kind of pipes do you have in that place? If you got copper piping in the wall, that's good. If you don't have copper piping, you need it. So don't worry about furniture until you get that fixed. And then, like, the electrical box. Do you have a hot swap box? Which means, can the breakers be removed and replaced while the box is live, having electricity going through it? If the answer is no, before you get furniture, you should really replace that box. And then, finally, and this is actually really important, go have a look at your water heater. Okay, there should be a concrete slab underneath it that will cause the water to splash outside the house if it ruptures. If you don't have that, you need that. Because those three things, like if your house burns down, doesn't matter if you have nice furniture. I'm going to grant that the insurance will give you more money if you have nice furniture, but if the house burns down or there's huge amounts of water damage, the damage to your furniture is really going to be just a horrible issue. So those are your things. I mean, make sure all of your fittings are safe. Make sure your electricity is grounded before you worry about that. Excuse me. Then, of course, I have to mention this because Trisha Hirschberger is an entertainer. She's in the arts industry. Incomes in that industry don't tend to be very solid, so I would have to ask, with a fair degree of concern, do you know you're going to be able to pay off the mortgage? So, it's like money really goes into the mortgage first. I mean, you can always go on Craigslist to get some extra furniture. That's not an issue. If you have an empty space in your home, leave it empty if you don't have a use for it, because you're going to come up with a use for it later, especially if you have kids. But then, because these naked truths are impromptu, I have to bring up yet another point, and that the question becomes, look, what you're really talking about is dressing the space. And you will remember this, Trisha, the concept of dressing a stage from a play. And when you're dressing a stage for a play, you dress it appropriate to what the play is. You don't put a nice neon couch if you're doing arsenic and old lace. So this becomes kind of question number one. What do you intend to be doing in your house? And don't say live there, because that's obvious. But do you intend to have work-related functions at your home? Okay, because that means you're going to need a specific type of furniture to deal with that. You're going to need entertaining furniture. Again, Costco.com, really great. If you're going to have a home where it looks okay, you maybe have somebody over for a drink every now and again, but for the rest of the time, you and your spouse are going to be working and there's not a lot of use of the home, go to IKEA. Put this stuff together. It's not a big deal because you're not putting heavy use on it. If you're the person who's a major socialite and you're going to have a big sherry set and you're going to have drinking parties every Friday, well, that's a whole different matter altogether. So, when you do that, yeah, you're going to need furnishing that can take the abuse. It all depends. What's the space going to be used for? So, well, that's my rambling on the topic. I mean, without going to the house, without seeing what the fixtures are like, without asking a million questions, I can't really help. Again, I go to Costco for a lot of my needs. They're a really solid website. I know I'm getting something that's good quality. I've tried going to places like Amazon.com. Not the same level of quality. You have to really watch what you buy. So that's my 50 cents on the matter. Now, customarily with the Naked Truth, it is the time to ask a question, and I'm going to have to give you a cut because I have to go grab something. Here's my question, for Trisha Hirschberger and the rest of the Naked Army. How do we feel about book inscriptions? I don't mean the author signing the book, I mean the owner or person giving the book as a gift. The reason I have this book here is this book was given, I believe, sometime in the 80s by a woman named Sybil Gomez to her grandson, and it's been inscribed in here. And the grandson has therefore left that book in my possession. Now I'm thinking that because it's now my book and part of my collection, I might want to continue on that tradition by noting where I got the book inside the book, which 100 years from now might make that book more valuable. It also might decrease the value, but I'm asking not just for this book, I'm asking for every book I own. If I intend to keep the book for a lifetime, should I write inside the book that it's my book and where I got it, therefore leaving something of an inscription to denote the history of the book? It's a funny question, but I'm a funny guy. Funny strange, not funny haha. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me inform you that it is Trisha Hirschberger who decides the topics for this segment of the Naked News. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me inform you that it is Trisha Hirschberger that decides our topics for the Naked Truth series. So, if you would like to participate, please go to her channel, examine her guidelines, and be respectful of them. And she will tell you how to send the video to her for her perusal. Thank you very much. I'm Richard.